Hello loves, in this video I'm going to show you how to create this lovely soft, fluffy, full defined eyebrow look. So the first thing we need to do is add a bit of extra texture and fullness to the brow hairs. So you want to use a brow gel, you could maybe use a soap or a wax-based product to do this. And the idea with this is that we're going to train the brows into shape, but we're also, as I say, just going to add a little bit of extra texture to each of those hairs. So we start by just bringing that product all the way through the brow, through all the hairs, and we want to take it through on both sides, so combing them in the direction that you want to go, but also combing in the opposite direction so that we separate all the hairs and we get as much fullness and fluffiness as possible. This is really a really important step because it makes the most of the hair that's there before we have to add any. Now you can leave the brows very soft and fluffy and kind of loose, or you can just take your finger or maybe another more dense brush and just press the brows flat, and this really gives them that kind of boy brow look, so that really kind of tailored look. So think of the brows in three sections. You've got the inner part of the brow, which is the one that is in line with the side of the nose, and then you've got the arch of the brow, so that is the part of the brow that is central. So if you're looking straight ahead, it's the center, it'll be in line with the center of your eye. And then you've got the outer section, so this tends to be the part that starts to descend, and we're going to start our application by bringing our product into the arch, and we're using a very thin angle brush to do this. We start at the point where we want the brow to be the most lifted. If we start at the front, we're going to top load product at the front, and if we start at the end, we'll top load product at the end, which is absolutely no good. Then we're going to end up trying to correct that. But what we do know is that we want product where the brow is going to naturally arch, and that's where we want to add the fullness, really, because that's what's going to make us look more awake and it's going to lift the brow. So we start there and we always return there. So we're only really adding product on the outer part of the eye and the inner part of the eye with what's left on the brush, and it stops us from getting too much build-up. Just notice that the application technique for this technique requires you to use the brush a little bit like a stamp. So the first thing you do is press the bristles down in almost like a stamping action, and that's what gives you that drawn on hair effect. And then as you bring the brush away, you're sort of flicking it away from the skin, and that flicker again just gives you those sort of soft hair-like effects. You can do this with a pencil, as I say, you can do it with a powder. The more wet the product, the more defined it's going to be. Note also that I'm turning my brush in the direction I want to go. So when I want the hairs to stand up, the brush is actually turned directly, so it will create an upward stamp, an upward line. And then as I'm moving along the brow towards that outer third where the hair descends, then I'm turning the brush. So the brush starts to turn on its angle. You're going to notice in this video that I turn the brush a lot of times. I flip it around quite a few times. It's good to check that they are even, and if you do feel like perhaps you've loaded them with a little bit too much product, or maybe they're not as soft or as fluffy as you like, you can take a clean spoolie, or in this case I'm using a clean brow brush and I'm just brushing them through. It's actually very easy to remove brow product if you've put too much in. You can just use a dry brush to brush that out. So another step that you can use to again make the brows look more defined and fluffy is to actually underline them. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. You could stop with the previous step, but one thing you can do is take a stiff, flat-edged makeup brush, so something like a concealer brush or even a lip brush, and just use a little bit of a slightly lighter concealer product. You can do this also with your foundation, and just cut underneath the brow. So we're not going along the top because we want that to stay nice and fluffy, but by cutting underneath the brow, it just gives that brow a little bit of extra lift. And if any of our little hairs or stamps, our little lines, feel like they've drifted a little bit too low, this is going to clean that up as well. It's just another way you can define the brow. Just notice that the brush is turned so it's facing up, so the tip of that brush, that flat edge, is doing all the work for us. And here is our finished eyebrow look. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you for another video.